Hello and welcome to 3 Secrets to Score a 5 in AP Biology as a grade 9 to 12 student. My name is Emily and I'm the AP Biology expert here at Master Your Courses. Now, who is this course for? This course is going to be for parents of AP Biology students who want their child to earn a 5 on their final. It's also going to be for parents who are looking for a clear and actionable plan to help their child stay motivated and to enjoy learning AP Biology as well as their future STEM courses. This is also going to be for students who are prepared to invest their time, energy, and effort to secure at least a 4 on their AP final exam. Now, I have a couple goals for these master classes, the first being it allows us to preview the AP Biology course. Now, this is a very long and content-heavy course, so by running these master classes, it allows us to strengthen our knowledge of those fundamental concepts as well as deepen our understanding of the curriculum as a whole. My second goal is to teach you my secrets and tips to scoring a 5 in AP Biology. As someone who recently finished advanced biology and scored quite well, I feel like I have a good understanding of which topics are tested more frequently, as well as the depth of knowledge that you'll need to know for your final. And again, since this is such a content-heavy course, I've developed good strategies and techniques to deal with such a vast amount of content, as well as to help you with memorization. My final goal for this masterclass is to ensure a lot of exam preparation and practice. The AP Biology exam has a very strict way of asking questions, as well as a very strict criteria of how they want you to answer it. So by going over a lot of exam questions, doing a lot of practice, we're going to be able to develop techniques to get the maximum amount of marks on that final. Here are some testimonials from past clients that have used our master classes and have had positive results. Farhana up top here says, "My 10th grader was struggling with math and chemistry. I found Master Your courses. They've been a wonderful online platform. All tutors are knowledgeable and experienced. We definitely plan to keep working." Parsati below here says, "I recommend this course to any high schooler. Masood is very soft-spoken and sincere, dedicated, and consistent with his teachings. He tries to understand the problems behind the grades and creates one-to-one strategies to fix them. The bright and young mentors also add a plus to deal with teens. Personally, I feel he works hard with the student too. Recommend Master Your Courses teachers. Everyone is very motivated to host effective classes for your kids." This one at the bottom was to Dr. Sherry, the head of our biology department, which says, "I hope you're doing well and having a fun summer. I got a 5 on AP Biology, so I was very happy about that. Thank you for all your help. I would not have been able to earn a 5 without it." And this final one here on the right says, "Hi, Mr. Masood, just wanted to let you know that Miss Emily and Dr. Sherry helped me a lot and I was able to do the corrections as well. I got a better understanding of the concepts that were being taught, which led me to improve my biology score from a C to an A since we started working together." Many students and parents may be wondering why AP Biology, and there are several reasons why AP Biology can be really beneficial to your future, the first being for college admissions. It improves your chances of being admitted to selective colleges and universities if they can see that you're able to flourish with an advanced curriculum. The second is scholarships, so you have a higher eligibility for scholarships for students who can excel in AP Biology courses. And finally, college credits. So since this is an advanced course, you can earn credit for college level biology courses, which will then save you time and money when you don't have to take that course in first year. Another benefit to AP Biology is it's going to help you develop your critical thinking skills as well as your problem solving skills, which is going to be applicable to a wide range of future endeavors. Especially with our application problems and our analysis of experimental results, it's going to give you good techniques and ways of thinking that's going to help you with future careers. As well as it gives you an improved understanding of our world, so you're allowed to gain a deeper understanding of the natural world as well as many biological processes. Now I'll be introducing you to the members of our team that will be working directly with the students. This is our CEO and founder, Masood. He has over 12 years of experience teaching physics and has helped thousands of students boost their grades and get into the colleges of their dreams. He has a double major in chemical engineering and physics and a master's degree in quantum computing from the University of Calgary. In his academic life, he has published several papers in peer-reviewed journals and presented at multiple conferences, as well as been part of multi-million-dollar deals such as Quantum Alberta. This is our academic consultant and scholarship expert, Dr. Puri. He's a faculty member at the University of Calgary with over 10 years of experience teaching mathematics, engineering, and business, and has helped over thousands of students to boost their grades and has a 4.8 rating on Rate My Professor. He won the UBC Killam Graduate Teaching Award as well as the Shelby L. Bermel Memorial Graduate Scholarship in both 2019 and 2022. He holds a PhD in business from the Sauder School of Business at the University of British Columbia, as well as a master's in chemical engineering from the University of British Columbia. This is our AP Biology expert and head of the science department here at Master Your Courses, Dr. Sherry Satter, who's currently a dental student at the University of British Columbia. She holds a master's degree in biomedical engineering from the University of British Columbia, and she has over 8 years of experience teaching bio-related topics such as biology, chemistry, and immunology, as well as engineering-related topics like math, physics, statistics. She's also taken the DAT and scored in the 99th percentile. And this is myself. My name is Emily, and I'm a biology expert here at Master Your Courses. I recently received my undergraduate from Queen's University in biotechnology with a 4.0. I'm currently getting my Master's of Science at Johns Hopkins University studying biotechnology as well. I completed higher level IB biology when I was in high school, and I scored within the 95th percentile. I also have over 5 years of experience teaching, and in my professional life, I've worked as a researcher at top cancer research institutions as well as biotechnology companies. Now, it's no secret that AP Biology is a difficult subject. If we look at the distribution of grades, we see that only 12% of students score a 5. And our goal is going to be to get your student in that 12% by using our 3-pillar approach. A common mistake that I see students tend to do when learning AP Biology is attempting to do it alone, which is why here at Master Your Courses, we like to create a safe and welcoming environment where students feel comfortable to ask questions to other students as well as to their teachers. And this is just going to deepen their understanding if they feel like they're in a safe space to bounce ideas off of each other and communicate directly with their teachers to get the questions answered. The second mistake I see many students make is that they lack a strong foundation. Many AP Biology courses are going to assume that students have a solid foundation in chemistry, anatomy, and basic biological concepts, which isn't always the case. I see this especially with AP Biology students who don't also take AP Chemistry, so the beginning can be very difficult, which is why I like to start my master classes at Unit 1, which is the Foundations of Chemistry. I'll introduce you to introductory chemistry techniques and all the background chemistry that you'll need to know for the whole AP Biology unit, and that'll just help reinforce those foundational concepts. And if you don't have that foundational knowledge, it often leads to feelings of being overwhelmed and difficulty applying principles because you lack that foundational knowledge to then go forward with the rest of the concepts. And it's much like building a house without a sturdy foundation. Students also tend to run into issues if they're relying exclusively on online courses. Now, these online courses tend to lack interaction, hands-on experience, and there's no personalized feedback, which is why here at Master Your Courses, we like to provide a personalized study plan for you that helps you achieve your study goals in the way that works best for you. So if I see you struggling with a particular concept, I can always provide you more practice problems and go over it again so that you have a personalized lesson plan that is best for your type of learning. Also, with online courses, there is a difficulty to stay motivated because you're going at your own pace. But when you have other students as well as a teacher that gives you personalized feedback, it's easier to stay on top of your work and to keep up with those concepts when you're working with other people. Now, there's also going to be limited practice with application questions for these online courses. And these application questions are going to be worth a lot of marks on your final, and it takes a lot of practice to get used to how to answer them and to see what the question is asking. So by us going over a lot of these practice application questions, you're going to be able to get the most amount of marks and develop really good strategies for that final exam. Now, the final issue we tend to see with students is they have an incorrect learning approach for AP Biology. And the first thing they do is focus too much on memorization and less on understanding. Biology is a very interesting subject in terms of the way it's studied, and it's less about calculation problems and equations and more about understanding the concepts as a whole. So we see many students focus a lot on memorization and not as much on understanding. Of course, there is an aspect of memorization to biology, but many students will just memorize the key term and then the definition and not understand how all the terms work together as a whole system. Also, we tend to see students get overwhelmed by the amount of content. They'll look at the length of a chapter and get stressed, but if you go over it and focus on understanding it in the context of the entire system and making connections between all those concepts, you're going to be able to learn a lot more and have a much deeper understanding. Another issue is students are not practicing enough. So although it's a very content-heavy subject, it's also important to practice those different types of questions so that you can develop strategies to answer them, whether it's application questions, analysis of experimental data, or just multiple choice questions. We also tend to see students not seeking help when needed. So students tend to get shy or scared to ask questions or clarify a topic, but that is exactly what we're here for, to answer your questions and ensure your understanding. Another issue is we see students tend to procrastinate, which is the number one thing I tell students not to do. They may be overwhelmed by the amount of readings and the amount of terms that they need to go over, but because the units are organized to be built off one another, you need to understand the previous unit before jumping to the next one, which is why procrastination and skipping is not an option when you're trying to learn biology. Another one is that students aren't able to break down complex problems. And a lot of the times, these big concepts like metabolism and photosynthesis seem overwhelming, but when you have teachers that can break them down into more individualized and simpler concepts, it's going to deepen your understanding of the concept as a whole and really help you learn. And finally, learning without understanding the prerequisite concepts is a big issue I tend to see with students. So as I said, the units tend to build off one another. We first learn chemistry, then the components of the cell, then the specific processes of these components of the cell. And without going and learning those prerequisite concepts, you're going to have a hard time learning. So you can't go forward in the course without understanding those prerequisite concepts so that you can get that full understanding and learn the whole process as a continuum. Now here's the overview of the AP Biology exam. There are 3 different types of questions that you tend to see on these, the first being conceptual questions, the second being experimental application questions, and the third being long answer written questions. And we're going to go through examples of what those look like. And for the actual format of the AP Biology exam, it stays the same every year. You're going to have 2 sections, the first being multiple choice. There's going to be 60 questions in this multiple choice, and you're going to have 90 minutes to answer all of them, and this is going to be worth half of your exam. And the second section is the free response questions. And you tend to have 6 questions with a bunch of different parts, so A to D, for example. They're going to incorporate a lot of units, and they're also going to incorporate a lot of writing and explaining. And this is also going to be in 90 minutes and worth the other half of your exam. Now, what do the questions look like on the AP exam? We're first going to start off with conceptual questions, which are the most simple, and you usually see them with multiple choice. And these just involve memorization of key terms and basic fundamental concepts. So they just want to check that you've gone through all the content, that you know your key terms and your definitions. Now, here are 2 examples of the conceptual questions. Again, they'll most likely be seen with those multiple choice in that first section. Number 5 says, which metabolic pathway is common to both fermentation and cellular respiration of glucose molecules? So this is a very simple and straightforward question. It's just asking you about the differences between the metabolic pathways. Number 6 says, blank are extremely important to plant cells for the regulation of water and water pressure. Again, a very simple, straightforward question. It's just looking for the definition and that you know those key terms of the parts of the cell. Now, the next type of question is going to be the experimental application questions. And these ones tend to give long background details outlining an experiment, so all the procedure and everything that has to do with the experiment, and then they typically ask you to analyze the data. And students tend to get very overwhelmed by these because they'll give you a very long question with a lot of background details on maybe a topic that you're not super familiar about, and then they'll give you a graph to analyze or a set of data points. And so you need to have enough practice by being able to strategize and look within the long question to see what they're actually asking for, as well as practice a lot of good data analysis techniques, such as being able to read graphs, being able to extract information from a set of data. Now, this is an example of an experimental application problem. They could be a lot longer than this. They tend to be multiple paragraphs long, which obviously can be overwhelming. So we'll look at this small example, which says, a scientist grew chlorella, a single-celled photosynthetic algae, for 3 weeks in a laboratory culture. The culture medium contains dissolved carbon dioxide and other nutrients. At the beginning and end of the 3-week period, the scientists measured the rate of synthesis of certain biological molecules. The results are shown in the following graph. Now, initially, students may be confused or overwhelmed by this question because they don't know what a chlorella is, and it's not really something that we go over in the curriculum, but in the entire context of this question, it's not really important. So they'll give you experimental backgrounds on what the organism is, how they ran the experiment, but in reality, you're just supposed to be looking at the graph and extracting information from that. So in the context of this question, knowledge of chlorella or photosynthetic algae is not really important at all. You just need to understand your synthesis of biological molecules, which is something that we do go over in Unit 2. And as well, we will go over many examples of how to analyze graphs and extract data from graphs so that we can get these experimental questions answered to the best of our abilities. A key technique that I teach to my students is to take a highlighter and just highlight all the important parts out of the question, because you'll usually get many paragraphs, but if you just highlight all those important bits, for example, here I would only really highlight the scientists measured the rate of synthesis for certain biological molecules, and then probably over a 3-week period as well. That's really all that matters for the context of this question, and then you would look at the graph and look for differences in the graph, and we'll go over many analysis techniques, but just looking at it already, you see that protein levels stay the same, carbohydrates levels stay the same, nucleic acid and lipids do change. And then you can look at the actual question, which says, based on the experimental results, which of the following is most likely true about the chlorella culture medium? So again, you don't have to have any knowledge about the specific mechanics of chlorella photosynthesis, you're really just analyzing this graph. And we'll go over a lot of examples so that when you're able to highlight and being able to go through all of this, it'll be a lot easier to understand. The final type of question is the long answer written problems, which we see on the second half of the exam. A lot of the times these are going to be multi-part questions that incorporate multiple units. So you'll have A to D, for example, and then each question will also incorporate things from other units. So you have to be able to make connections and understand the entire curriculum as a whole of interconnecting concepts. And as well, it's important to understand the marking scheme and what questions it's asking to get the maximum amount of points, which is something that we extensively go over when we're preparing in these master classes. So you need to understand the difference between whether they're asking you to list, to outline, to describe, to explain. Those all mean different things, and they're looking for a different amount of content that you're giving them. And as well, you want to get the maximum amount of points, so we're always going to make sure that we read the questions thoroughly and we understand the little tricks to getting the maximum amount of marks. And then finally, there's always multiple ways to answer these questions. So they tend to be a little bit more open-ended questions, and they need you to describe or define something. So there's going to be a different type of marking scheme, and there's going to be multiple options for how you can answer. So we're going to look at the questions as well as actual AP marking schemes, so you can see kind of what they're looking for and how to answer these to get the best mark. And for these, practice is obviously going to be the best option, which is why we go over it so extensively in our master classes. Now this is an example of a written question. I took this exactly from a past AP exam, which says acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that can activate an action potential in a postsynaptic neuron, seen in figures 1 and 2. A researcher is investigating the effect of a particular neurotoxin that causes the amount of acetylcholine released from the presynaptic neuron to increase. So we see that there's also going to be analysis of graphs and diagrams, which is something that we go over. And as well, it's going to incorporate multiple units. So I can already tell that this is going to have aspects of self-signaling as well as enzymes and inhibition and the understanding of the neurotransmitters and presynaptic neurons. So we just look at question A. It says describe the immediate effect of the neurotoxin on the number of action potentials in a postsynaptic neuron. So you see the term describe. And then you see the next term saying predict. This means that this question is going to be worth 2 marks. So predict whether the maximum membrane potential of the postsynaptic neuron will increase, decrease, or stay the same. So I can already tell that this is going to be a 2-mark question, and you're going to be able to look at the graphs and be able to determine this. There's also a part B, which is looking at the 2 models. And so there's a lot of different aspects to this. Part B is also a multi-part question in itself. So just being able to break these down and go over the best way to answer these is going to be really beneficial to getting you the maximum marks on that final. Now, how can you prepare for AP Biology? We're going to start with our first pillar, which is going to be foundation. Like I talked about earlier, you can't really build a house without a proper foundation, which is why we like to provide a clear explanation of all our core concepts and problem-solving strategies so that you can understand the key points and gain that foundational knowledge. We also like to ensure that students understand each unit before proceeding to the rest, and it's important not to rush through those concepts. So what I like to do is I like to stop every couple slides to do a multiple choice question to make sure that they understand the concepts beforehand before moving on, and as well as stopping at each slide to ask for questions. In addition, at the end of each unit, I like to give a practice quiz or a practice test without my help so that I can see where you're at and what you're struggling with, and then we obviously go over it all together and I explain all the questions and why the answer is the answer. And if I see you struggling with a certain component or a certain concept, then we can always go over it again and then retest that to make sure that you fully understand it. The next pillar is providing the right type of support. Now, what makes our master classes so successful with students is we're able to give our individualized attention as well as personalized support to the students so that I can personally understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, what your study habits are, and what you're maybe struggling with so that I can give you an individualized action plan that best benefits you. I also am always open to clarifying concepts that are more complex. So if you need extra explanation, you need extra diagrams or more practice problems, I'm always open to that. You can communicate with me directly so that we can get that sorted out for you. I also always provide regular practice and constructive feedback, as well as a lot of resources and materials. I'll get into some of the resources that I provide, but I always go through a PowerPoint presentation. I will annotate it, I'll send you all the slides, I'll send you my study notes, and then you'll also have lots of practice problems and tests and opportunities to practice and get good constructive feedback from me. I also like to provide my mentorship as someone who went through this process recently. I understand that it's a hard course and I can give you my tips and tricks to dealing with such a large amount of content in such a difficult course. And of course, I always like to provide my encouragement and motivation so that all the students can learn in a positive and welcoming environment, because that's really what's going to help your learning. Now, the final strategy is going to be, of course, practice. Now, of course, practicing is really great for reinforcing knowledge and developing problem-solving skills. You'll see with our AP exam that they have very specific ways of asking questions. So by doing a lot of practice, understanding patterns, and getting used to the way that they ask those questions and how they want you to answer them for the maximum marks is really going to help you on your final. Also, it helps identify areas of weakness. I like to give questions so that I can figure out where the students are struggling so that I can go back, re-explain it, and then we do more questions just so I know that you're confident in all the questions and all the concepts before moving on to the next, because again, that's super important to understand the previous concepts. The next is, of course, to build confidence. A lot of times students can't see how the dots are being connected or don't feel like they fully understand. When you go through questions and they're able to answer them, it'll really build up confidence and kind of also help connect those dots in their head. And then finally, familiarity with the exam format. Again, I'm going to take questions directly from AP exams so that we can see how they're marking them, as well as how the questions are formatted to really practice and help you get a really good mark on that final. Here is the Master Your Courses AP Biology Study Guide, and this will be your guide to getting a 5 on your final. I've designed this specifically with everything that you need to know for your final AP exam. It's organized into the 9 units that they teach, and each unit has my personalized study notes, everything you need to know in a very nice, condensed, organized way, with highlighted definitions and many diagrams and lots of ways to reinforce your learning. And as well, at the end of each unit, there's going to be 30 to 40 practice problems that are going to be at the level that they expect you to know for the AP Biology final. As well, at the end of those 9 units, there's going to be an entire practice exam formatted completely how a regular AP exam would be done. So full 3-hour exam, 60 multiple choice, and 6 long answer questions. And you can do that at the end of the book to really test your knowledge. So this will be your complete guide to getting a 5, and it's very condensed and very informative and everything that you'll need to know. Now for a quick recap of our pillar approach and how to get a 5 on your final. We start off by understanding the foundation, of course, and then we like to provide you with the right type of support to really enhance your learning. And then finally, lots of practice so that you can do really well on that final exam. This figure shows how our master classes are going to work. If we start off with our foundation on the left, you can see that you'll have 2 live sessions per week with me. And this is when I'll be going through the content, explaining the concepts, and ensuring that you get the full understanding of all of those concepts. They're also going to be recorded for your review, so you can always go back if you're struggling with a concept or a certain question. You can go back to those lessons and watch me re-explain it. Also, of course, I'll provide note summaries for all my lessons, as well as you're going to have those note summaries in the book. Next, you're going to have support mechanisms, so live office hours with me where I'll be hosting, and you can come in and ask questions. You can have me clarify things or go over a certain problem that you're really struggling with. There's also community support, so you also have other students that you're able to interact with and help you with questions, as well as group learning, so you're going to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and get comfortable and understand where other students are. Finally, you're going to have learning by example. So there's going to be video solutions for these AP questions. I'm going to provide my solutions to all the questions so that you can go through and see why that answer is the answer. And then finally, you're going to have mock AP tests. So again, at the end of that book, there's going to be a mock AP exam, and as well as I'll be providing AP level tests at the end of all the units just to ensure you're learning and to find out where your strengths and your weaknesses are so that we can identify a personalized study plan for you. I'm going to end this presentation by going over a couple more testimonials of people that have used our services. This top one says, "You guys have an amazing skill set as teachers. Your teaching methods for math makes understanding and solving math easy. I was never very good at math because I didn't understand it and thought I couldn't. It has taken 4 months and I'm amazed how I'm able to understand and solve questions on my own. It is self-empowering to overcome these deficiencies. Thank you for your patience and continuous encouragement." The one below it says, "I highly recommend Master Your Courses. Very friendly staff, very fast responses. Sumit was one of the tutors that helped me a lot with my work. Thank you so much to everyone for this amazing opportunity to get help and learn better." And finally, this one says, "My 10th grader was struggling with math and chemistry. I found Master Your Courses. They've been a wonderful online platform. All tutors are knowledgeable and experienced. We definitely plan to keep on working." Now, if you're interested in getting started with our masterclasses, we encourage you to book your free grade boost session using the calendar below. This way you'll be able to talk directly with one of our experts and we can work out an individualized learning plan for you so that you can get to your study goals.